Where are we at? Well, Liverpool are considering their next move and have requested that the audio from the VAR instance was put out there, and as of yet I haven't seen a response to this. There is something put out that says the PGMOL are considering their next move after receiving a formal request from Liverpool to release the audio conversation between the match officials leading to Luis Diaz's goal. So, good. And I hope it is released, and I don't see why they won't release it, because if they truly want to be transparent, then this should be a straightforward process, right? We get to hear the audio. We get to hear the audio for ourselves, and we get to see how communication broke down, and we get to see what went wrong. Surely that's a minimum expectation, right? Surely that's the least we as football fans deserve. Let's wait and see. This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe and secure from hackers. Using Surfshark, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries or other streaming platforms like DAZN in Spain for all those important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. Everything. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe from being hacked if you use public Wi-Fi. Let's say you're in a cafe, you're at college, you're out and about, they've got you covered. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning you can share your account with friends or family or that neighbour who's a little bit cheap. On top of all of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also upgrade to Surfshark One, which includes the VPN, an alert system for breaches related to your data, such as emails and credit cards, and an antivirus software for your desktop. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for a little over €2 a month, and you'll get an additional 3 months free. Simply scan the QR code on screen right now or use the link in the description and enter the code Anfield Agenda at checkout. I'm really angry, and I'm really angry in particular at one little yes man, one little company man, one little two-faced weasel of a man. Gary Neville. One day you were in support of Liverpool. One day you had sympathy for the problem. The next day, Gary, you're reverting to type again, becoming the company yes man. And it is no surprise to me that there is a particular group of journalists that are, shall we say, mocking the process. Now, let me ask the world one simple question, because you all love to take the social media journalists to laugh at Liverpool, to talk about undermining the process, and to say that Liverpool are a bit off the wall requesting a replay of the game. One question for you all. Show me anywhere, and I mean anywhere, where anybody associated to Liverpool Football Club has asked for that game to be replayed. Please show me. Because you all love to laugh and joke about it. Jonathan Liu, Tim Vickery, Gary Neville coming out and talking about Liverpool using dangerous language. I'm going to tell you why you're all cowards. I'm going to tell you why you need to stand up for the game you profess to love and push aside the bias. The status quo isn't working. PGMOL apologising isn't worth the apology. How many times do we have to hear an apology before we ask for change? Now, Gary, using your own language, and I'm going to read out Mr. Gary Neville's post to you because, well, I think it bears repeating. This is what Gary Neville has had to say. He said, Jurgen Klopp handled the situation well last night after the game. Most football fans will have had empathy with what happened and recognised it was wrong. So far, all good, right? Gary's saying what we all think. Now he goes on and shows, however, Liverpool's statement tonight is a mistake. Talk of exploring all options, what does that mean? Well, Gary, it means they're going to explore all options, those open to them, legally. Not that difficult to comprehend, is it? Now he goes on to say, and sporting integrity are dangerous phrases along with being vague and aggressive. Yes, Gary, they are aggressive because, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, mate, we were robbed. So what would you expect us to do? He goes on to say, sorry we fucked up was good enough. I said this last night, sorry should be respected and not undervalued. This is a snap reaction that can always be wrong, but I feel strongly about it. So Gary, using your own logic, pound shop logic I might add, All the Glazers have to do tonight, Gary, is just come out and say to you and the Manchester United fan base, lads, we are sincerely sorry for everything we've done over our tenure at Manchester United. We mean this from the bottom of our hearts, and we will look to do better moving forward. And that's it then, Gary, right? That's the end of that process because, and I'm using your own words here, Gary, sorry should be respected and not undervalued. So, Gary, a little apology there from the Glazers, and we're all tickety-boo, right? We'll never have to listen to you on Sky again, crying and whinging how everything is to do with the Glazers when Manchester United lose a game of football, right? Of course that's not going to happen, Gary, because we all live in the real world. How many times do you accept the word sorry? How many times should we be to just accept these failures? These absolute failures by people who have nobody governing them, nobody policing them. They police themselves. It's not good enough. Now, it doesn't end with Gary Neville. We're going to move on to Mr. Tim Vickery now. He said, silly statement from Liverpool. What options do they want to explore? Does this include replaying the Champions League final in 2019 because of the wrongly awarded handball penalty at the start of the game? Tim, I have a lot of respect for you as a journalist. I've always admired your work, but you are very, very wrong. Tim, what the difference in this process is, unlike that penalty you're on about, which was awarded through the laws of the game at that time as UEFA had them, they also went through every step of the process, going to VAR, having it checked, coming back to the referee. No fault in the process, you salty little twat. Now we move on to Jonathan Liew, another one you'll see every day on Sky Sports, another one you'll see popping up on the back page of show most nights. This is what this little Omadon has had to say. Replay Spurs versus Liverpool, replay the 2005 Champions League semi-final, replay France versus Ireland, replay the beach ball game, replay the entire 1978 World Cup. Actually, on reflection, let's just start the entire game again, the entire sport. Jonathan is also a Spurs fan. Jonathan is also apparently a clown. How can a journalist of such esteem post that nonsense on social media? By the way, Jonathan, all you've managed to do there is once again show that officiating and those looking after it aren't fit for purpose. So, yes, Ireland should have had that game against France replayed. And yes, the beach ball goal should not have stood. Again, all you're doing is showing us that these people aren't fit for purpose. And trying to undermine it with your own London Spurs-centric bias is quite frankly embarrassing. These are the people who are already forming a narrative and an agenda to stop Liverpool requesting mere transparency from those who are in charge of refereeing. And they're looking to undermine it already, before the process has even started. Hang your heads in shame, you cowards. You were supposed to be journalists. You were supposed to be above tribalism. You were supposed to be asking the questions of those in power on behalf of those who love the game. You're not doing it. You're not fit for purpose. Hang your heads in shame. All of you. Not good enough. Why should we have to take this crap? Why should we have our hopes and dreams and the hard work of those players undermined because Simon Hooper, Darren England and the rest of those officials aren't fit for purpose? Why? Why should we have to accept it? We shouldn't. We won't. I'm fed up of this stuff. You will have seen it yourselves today, my friends. You will have seen the undermining of the process. Again, I'm going to ask, when have Liverpool asked for a replay? Show me any text from the football club or any audio that specifically shows that Liverpool want the game replayed. It hasn't happened because it doesn't exist. This is a joke. So we had what, 24 hours of sympathy and now all of a sudden it's back to the status quo? Nah, not on my watch. I'm not going to let this go. And I hope football fans don't let it go. Because it's not just Liverpool. Everybody, and I mean every single Premier League club and their fans will have a justifiable reason why they have lost faith in VAR. And I think rather than calling us all conspiracy theorists and telling us all to shut up, we need to have a proper investigation. This needs to be a point where the PGMOL, the Premier League and those that govern the game need to come together and try to save the integrity of the sport. And if you aren't on that side, if you aren't on the side of looking for transparency and integrity, then you're part of the problem. My apologies for my rant, but this is becoming an embarrassment at this point. These lads have a platform. They have high-paying jobs. They're esteemed journalists. Their job is to ask the questions. Their job is not to push aside and show their club biases. Jonathan Liew, a Spurs fan, and he thinks we can't see through that tripe, I will happily debate any single one of them, any of them, on this matter. But they won't, because they're cowards. That's why. And it's not because I think I'm anything special. It's because unlike Mr. Neville, Mr. Vickery, Mr. Liu, and many other people, I genuinely, truly care about the integrity of a sport I've loved since I was a child. Lads, it's a pivotal moment for our sport right now. There's 14 or 15 instances, I believe, of the PGMOL issuing apologies. We all seen Howard Webb on Sky with Michael Owen patting themselves on the back for a job well done, how brilliant they've been since they've come in, how the correct decisions have increased. Nonsense. You're just skipping over the parts you don't want to talk about. If anything else through this entire process, I hope those people that still think I'm a plastic Liverpool fan realise what this club and this thing means to me. Because like every single one of you, I've lost sleep, I've felt angry, my personal life has suffered a little bit from it, because that's how much this means to me. That's how much this sport means to me. That's how much this being around for the next generation and the integrity of the sport being intact means to me. I'm a United fan, and I have to ask if you think the Jones red card should be overturned, because the Casemiro red against Southampton was very similar, and I'd be interested to know what you think if this was more deserved. I don't think we can whataboutery the situation, and what I mean by that, Nick, is not to underplay what happened with Casemiro. I don't have as much information to hand about what happened to Casemiro because I'm a Liverpool fan and I didn't pay that much attention to it. That's the honest answer. With regard to the Jones red card being overturned, I find the threshold to be very hard because it was reviewed, they did ask the ref to go to the monitor, and the ref made his decision. So in that context, no, I don't think the red card will be overturned. But I do have questions about the process of how we got to Curtis Jones being sent off. That process for me involved the referee being nudged in the right direction with a still image of the worst part of the challenge when he went over to the monitor. Also, slow motion. And I think we will all agree on this, Nick, as a United fan or a Liverpool fan or whoever, that none of these things should be looked at in slow motion because the game isn't played in slow motion. Why on earth slow motion started to come into these VAR replays? I don't know. Because the referee, if you can't see it in real time, if you can't see it and it's not that obvious, surely this undermines the entire process. So, honestly, I'm not trying to get out of answering you. I don't remember enough of the Casemiro incident. But I'm sure there's more than that. I'm sure there's more than just our incident, your incident. I'm sure every club will have a similar type of red that they feel. But just let me say this, Nick. Liverpool are either the most unlucky team in the Premier League or something is just a bit off, because we have topped the fair play charts for 5 years under Jurgen Klopp. This year, we've had 4 red cards in 7 games. And I don't think that we're a particularly dirty team. That game against Spurs had a total of 12 cards. And again, I'll say, I don't particularly think it was a dirty game. I don't understand how there was 12 cards in that game. And look, I've gone back over other instances on top of the league. We've looked at the Rodri handball that wasn't given for Everton. We've looked at Ivan Toney's goal that was given when Norgard was in a very clear offside position and VAR ignored it. What we didn't look at, because we only had enough, we only had a few options to use, was the Manchester City goal against Fulham, where I don't know if it was Ake that headed it and who's the other dude that they brought in? Ake headed it, and the dude they brought in for Borussia Dortmund, can't think of his name at the minute, jumped over the ball and it went in. So look, there are lots and lots of instances, and I am not here in any way to say Liverpool are hard done by and everybody else.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
All right, love. You're right, it did. You're absolutely right, it did, love. You're right. Could you talk to Gary Neville there for us, mate? Cheers, if you wouldn't mind. Even Siri knows something went wrong. So yeah, I hope that answers, Nick. And again, I'm not trying to get out of answering your question, but I'm just trying to give you an honest assessment of where we are. Lauren said, rematch being tossed around is classic case of mixing in fan discourse with actual true statements from Liverpool. Same as Neville saying aggressive. That's his opinion, not a fact. Yes, Lauren, you're spot on. Again, I'm going to join some dots here. Jonathan Liu, Gary Neville, both of them regulars on Sky. And this isn't just down to Sky, by the way. I'm not trying to... I've immense respect for some journalists at Sky. Cave Solakal will forever be somebody I hold in high esteem after his amazing coverage of the Champions League final in Paris and his very, very, very supportive nature and reporting of what happened to those Liverpool and Real Madrid fans at the hands of UEFA and at the hands of heavy-handed policing. And I'll forever be he'll forever be in my regards because of that. It was top-notch reporting and made a big difference. But this stuff, this is undermining it again. And it feels to me like certain people want the status quo to be kept. And certain people want us to all just, for want of a better phrase, know our place. Neville changed his tune, said Sergio. Sky told him to shut up. Now, I'm not saying Sky told Neville to do anything, but he certainly changed his tune, you know. I think Gary's getting a bit ahead of himself at times here. You know, again, using his own logic, all the Glazers have to do is apologise, and Gary has to respect that and take it at face value because, you know, it means a lot, doesn't it, an apology, Gary? And by the way, Gary, if I've offended you with any of this, mate, I sincerely apologise. But when you are tribal and when you look at things to suit your own narrative, in this case, of course, Spurs fans won the game and they don't want their victory to be undermined and they are looking to say this was the correct decision, that was the correct decision. But what you do when you are so single-minded and tribalistic is you undermine the integrity of everything else because you allow the corruption, you allow the incorrect decision-making to go ahead. Because people think, well, we're only annoying certain part here, so others are on side. If you don't stand up and speak up, if you don't call these out, if you don't demand better, then you're part of the problem. And I, as somebody who loves the sport, don't want the game to be destroyed. We've had so many instances over the years of corruption in football, be they over in Serie A or what's going on currently in Spain with Barcelona looks very interesting. And if you can't push aside your tribal bullshit for the sake of the integrity of the sport, then you're part of the problem. I don't know who this phrase comes from or exactly what it's about, but there's a phrase that I'm kind of paraphrasing here that says, all that's needed for evil to succeed is for good men to do nothing. And that's what happens. People who try to undermine the rest of us are allowing this type of nonsense to carry on. Because people will feel emboldened that they can continue to get away with it. And everybody claims to love football. We all have our own teams. But you love the sport. You grew up thinking about scoring at a World Cup final. You grew up with your mates playing football outside. And you grew up and dreamt about going from rags to riches. And about it being a fair and transparent process along the way. And it isn't at the minute. And if you can't see that, and you aren't willing to stand with people who are trying to not ask for special treatment. We're just trying to use this as a catalyst to ask for change. And if that isn't in your agenda, then I don't really want that to do with you.